behalf of the City of Bradenton and the Bradenton Police Department, it's my great honor to welcome Governor Rick Scott here today to make a very important announcement regarding Florida's continuing fight against opioid abuse. You can see by the number of law enforcement personnel represented here today that we stand firmly behind our governor. More so, I will tell you that the police chiefs and sheriffs of Manatee and Sarasota counties consider Governor Scott our ally. I actually consider him a friend. And to have that kind of relationship and support from a governor who is so passionate about fighting this epidemic strengthens our resolve. Again, Governor Scott, welcome. BPD is honored to have you here. Thank you for your support.
I want to thank Melanie for all of her hard work, but let me just start with everybody up here for all their hard work. If you think about it, when I ran in 7 years ago, I guess it was, I said that we'd have 7,000 jobs over 7 years. We're now at 1.4 million. That wouldn't have happened but for law enforcement. If you stop and think about it for a second, nobody wants to build a business in a high crime area. They just don't do it. So if it wasn't for law enforcement, we wouldn't be having all those companies move here and expand. Every child wants to, and they wouldn't go on vacation. We're going to have hopefully 120 million tourists this year. If it wasn't for law enforcement, you don't go on vacation in high crime areas. You come to Florida because you feel safe. On top of that, we all want our kids and our grandkids to get a good education. You'll do everything you can to make sure your child goes to a safe school. Again, it's our law enforcement that does that. And so everything that's happening in our state is happening because of our law enforcement. And so the first thing we ought to do is we ought to have a big round of applause for what they do every day and during disasters. I want to thank all of the Manatee County law enforcement for your commitment to keeping Florida families safe. Thanks to hard work of law enforcement officers like you, Florida's crime rate is at a 46-year low. Think about that. 46-year low in the crime rate here. I'd like to recognize the members of the Florida Sheriff's Association, Florida Police Chiefs Association, who have joined us today. Let's give Chief Bevan and all the law enforcement and emergency management officials who have joined us today a round of applause. The second time is, think about what they did during the storm. They did an unbelievable job of keeping the roads open. Highway Patrol, local police, sheriffs kept the roads open, kept the fuel going, and everybody was able to evacuate that wanted to evacuate. So a big round of applause for what they did during the storm. Unfortunately, Speaker Corcoran could not be here today, but we have Representative Jim Boyd, Joe Gruters, and Newt Newton here today. I want to thank them for their hard work on this issue and commitment to the health and safety of our families. I want to also welcome the mayor here. By the way, you have a beautiful building. I get to, in this job, you get to travel around and you get to see all the locations of people, and this is a beautiful community, and this is it's really a nice place. I used to be in the hospital business, and I got to visit the same way, but it's always beautiful. Bradenton's a beautiful place to come to. I've met so many families across Florida who are dealing with drug abuse. My own family, unfortunately, dealt with drug abuse, and I can just tell you, it's devastating to a family. It's devastating to a parent. It's hard on. It's not just hard on that person. It's horrible for that person, but it's hard on an entire family. It's hard on all their friends. And so my heart goes out to anybody that's dealing with a family member or friend with regard to drug abuse, because I can just tell you from my own personal experience, it's just absolutely heartbreaking to everybody. We have taken important steps over the past year to begin combating this issue. Earlier this year, I directed the Florida Department of Health to issue a public health emergency that allowed us, the state, to immediately draw down more than $27 million in federal grant funding, which is being used across our state. I also signed legislation to enhance criminal penalties for individuals who traffic these deadly drugs to help keep families safe. We made a commitment here in Florida to do everything possible to keep our families safe. Today, I'm proud to announce that during the upcoming legislative session, I'm proposing major legislation to combat opioid abuse. It will include the following proposals. First, we will fight to place a 3-day limit on prescribed opioids, unless strict conditions are met for a 7-day supply. This is a critical step toward limiting the chance of addiction and reducing the ability for dangerous drugs to spread into our communities. We will fight to require mandatory use of the Florida Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, a database that monitors controlled substances and helps healthcare workers make informed decisions before prescribing medicine to their patients. Requiring all healthcare professionals who prescribe or dispense medicine to participate in this program will help reduce addiction and make sure more resources are available to our law enforcement officers as they work to protect our communities. This legislation will also include reforms that will fight unlicensed pain management clinics, require continuing education courses on responsibly prescribing opioids, and create new opportunities for federal grant funding. I've talked to a lot, and we've talked to a lot of people all around the state about how to deal with this. And this is the proposals we're coming up with right now. I'm sure there's going to be, as you go through legislative session, there'll be more ideas, but making sure people understand when they're prescribing the risk, making sure that you can have a limited supply of these opioids is a big deal. Using the database will be a big deal. In addition to these sweeping policy changes, I'm proposing more than $50 million to invest in investment to help our state fight this epidemic. This funding will include substance abuse treatment, counseling, and recovery services to give vulnerable individuals the help they need in their own communities. This also includes a major investment in the Florida Violent Crime and Drug Control Council, which supports local law enforcement agencies as they investigate drug abuse. One thing that I've watched, and I watched it with my family members, often what happens is who actually deals with the drug abuse is our law enforcement. And so, that's not their primary job, is to deal with the drug issue in our country, but they do. And so we're going to make a big investment in the Florida Violent Crime and Drug Control Council, which will help our local law enforcement. We know that the opioid epidemic is a challenging issue that requires a multi-focused approach. That's why my proposed legislation funding will help address multiple levels of this epidemic, from doctors and prescribers to state and community programs to law enforcement officers who are on the front line of this fight. Opioid abuse has taken the lives of too many Floridians, and it's almost every person now knows somebody that's impacted. And we're fully committed to finding additional ways to fight this crisis. I want to thank our Attorney General. When we got elected at the same time, and she has been a leader in whether it's fighting our pill mills, fighting synthetic drugs, fighting opioid abuse, and any legislation that's gotten passed, Pam has been a key member to make sure that happens. The legislation and funding I am announcing today will further strengthen our efforts to fight this national epidemic, and look forward to working with Attorney General Pam Bondi. And I think she's on the President's Council to deal with opioid abuse. I want to work with President Negron, Speaker Corcoran, and the entire legislature to pass these proposals during the upcoming legislative session. And I ask it all of you, call your House and Senate members and let them know the importance of dealing with this legislation, dealing with the legislation like this, and dealing with the issue that we're dealing with. I want to thank you again for all the brave men and women up here today. Every day they work hard to keep us all safe, and hopefully this will be another way that we can help them keep all of us safe. Now it's my distinct opportunity to introduce the mayor. This is a wonderful city, and it's always a wonderful place to visit. He's got a great positive attitude. He wants all the jobs here. He wants the best education here, and he wants the best law enforcement. And he did a really good job when he hired Melanie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Wayne Post, and I'm the mayor and the police commissioner of the city of Bradenton. So this, what we're doing today, is near and dear to my heart. We know we can't police our way to solving this problem. And the governor's outlined some ideas and some goals that will help us immensely in the police department. Since I'm mayor and police commissioner, I'm concerned about what we're doing on the policing end, and I'm also concerned about all the people who live in the Bradenton area and how this is impacting them and their families. So, Governor, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for the initiative, and Godspeed.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I want to introduce Jim Boyd. Jim and I got elected at the same time, so we've had the opportunity to work on a variety of pieces of legislation together, and I know he cares so much about the families in this community, but families all across our state. Representative Jim Boyd.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for being here today. This is an issue that the governor and the entire team in Tallahassee has been so passionate about, so I applaud your efforts. I applaud your creative thinking on the issue. Last year, as he mentioned, we passed a bill that deals with the traffickers and the dealers and provides strict penalties for them. We said then this is a multifaceted problem, and it's something that just one bill won't solve. This today that the governor's announced goes a long way in filling in some of the other gaps in this horrible epidemic. Unfortunately, as you know, our community is hit the hardest in Florida with this problem. We're going to fight it together, and we're going to win this battle because we have to for our families and our friends. One last thing that, Governor, I think you're aware, and I want you all to be aware, the penalty bill that we passed last year has made aware recently that there's a case in Sarasota where they have applied the felony murder penalties to a dealer who dealt fentanyl drugs to someone in Sarasota County that died from an overdose. So the bill is going, penalty bill is going to work. It's going to tell traffickers and dealers we're serious about this. And then today's initiative that's being announced will go a long way in helping us fight this horrible problem. So thank you very much for your commitment. Really appreciate you being here today, Governor.
Thanks everybody for being here. This is a horrible epidemic. Anybody that's had a family member that's dealt with drug abuse knows how horrible it is for that family. It's horrible for that individual, and it's very difficult to, when you have an addiction, it's very difficult to beat it. So my heart goes out to anybody that's dealing with this. We're going to do everything we can to prevent it, and we're going to do everything we can to hold those accountable that continue it. Have a great day. Bye-bye.